Hello station students. This lesson we are going to be setting up our 3D modeling software the first time that we open it. So before we begin, we actually want you to make sure you copy the assignment, Computer Modeling Intro, to your engineering notebook. And within that first page talks about the setup that we will need to get SketchUp Pro started. I'm going to go through the setup right here, which is on the first page. First thing we need to do is we are going to create a folder so we have a saving location for all of our files. What we're going to do is we're going to come down to the bottom left, click on the Start button, and go up to where it says Computer. It will open up our computer screen. I'm going to slide this over to my half screen so you can see our directions on the right. Also, you're going to want to keep your screens half and half whenever we open our software so we can continue going through our directions over here. Over here, you're going to want to find Documents. That will save all of our files onto the C drive of this computer that you are sitting at. Now we are going to create a new folder. Go up here to the top where it says New Folder, click on that button once. Now sometimes you'll notice that my new folder popped up right here where I can start typing and naming it, but sometimes we notice on the student computers, even though you click New Folder, this does not show up. So what I would recommend you do, don't click it multiple times. After you click New Folder once, if it does not show up, then just go backwards once and go forwards once, and it will refresh the page, and you will notice that you have a new folder here that we have to rename. Now we need to right click on it and we can rename it. We are going to name this new folder, it's right over here on our directions, SketchUp STEM Lab Files, and then your Tech Lab number. So I'm going to type here SketchUp STEM Lab Files and then put your Tech Lab number. It's best not to use the number sign. Sometimes saving files that way does not like it. And there we are. There's my SketchUp STEM Lab Files folder. Now that we have that set up, we are able to close this window. So I'm going to go up to my red X and close this. Now we are on step 2 of our setup. So what we want to do is open up SketchUp. You will notice this type of icon right here, SketchUp Pro, down in our taskbar. If you come over here, mine is right here. We're going to click on it once because it does take some time to open. Just give it a few seconds and be patient. And this popped up on my screen. Great. So now this is the welcome screen, and you'll notice in our directions that it says that we want to uncheck our welcome screen to pop up every time. So if we go down to the bottom here, you'll see a checkbox. Uncheck that. Always show at startup. We do not need to see this page every time we open up the software. Then go ahead and click Start Using SketchUp. Give it just a few seconds. Mine popped up on my other screen, so I'll have to move it as soon as it's done. Still taking a few minutes to open. And there we have it. So SketchUp will probably take up your full screen, so for this purpose of our setup, let's put it on half screen. You should remember how to do that. If you hit the Reduce button, it'll reduce the screen, and then just grab anywhere in this title bar, drag it over to the side, your mouse should hit the edge, and it will put it on half of our screen. A lot of times while you are going through your tutorials, you'll need to do this so you could watch your videos on one half and work on the other half. Now we are at step 3, our setup of our SketchUp program. So we need to set up our default location so it saves in the correct location every time we save a project. Remember that folder that we created? We now have to tell it to save there. So if we go to, as my directions say, Window Preferences and Files, I come over here, click on Window, Preferences, Files. Now you'll notice it probably says see users in all of this location. It's defaulted there. We have to choose our new location. So if we come, click on the small edit button, we now have to find that folder that we created. On the left hand browser side, click on Documents, and then we need to find the folder on the right hand side. I'm going to scroll down, and there is my new folder, SketchUp STEM Lab Files. Select this folder, and you will notice right here that it is changed to your name and Documents. We now have to repeat that process for all of these except this last one that is grayed out. So again, go to the Edit button, click on that, go over to Documents, scroll down to your folder, select the SketchUp STEM Lab Files folder, select folder. You will notice that has changed again. I'm going to continue to do that all the way through all of these. Let's do one more so you can watch. Edit, Documents, scroll down to the new folder, and select folder. Alright, continue to do that for all of these. Okay, I have just finished changing the saving locations for all of my folders. You'll notice you should see your name on all of these except the last one for templates that we are unable to change. Click OK, and we have set it up to save in our folder that we created before. The next step is we are going to change our toolbars. So we're on 3B. So we need to go up to Views, Toolbars, and check off these that are in our directions here. So I'm going to go up on SketchUp to where it says View, Toolbars, and it tells us to uncheck Getting Started and check off Large Tool Set, and you might have to scroll down to see the others. Standard, Styles, and Views. You should have those 4: Large Tool Set, Standards, Styles, and Views all checked off. And remember, sometimes we lose our toolbars, so this is the same place that you will go to get your toolbars back. You can refer back to your directions here for how to do that. When you are set, click Close, and you'll notice your toolbars parked up on the left as well as along the top. Now sometimes your toolbars might be on different levels. It's best to consolidate them so you have more working space. So grab the dots that are on the edge of that toolbar, click and drag it up into place so they're all on one line. Now we have adjusted our toolbars. Next, we're on 3C. We need to turn off our perspective by going to Camera and Parallel Projection. So I am going to go up to the menu bar at the top, click on Camera, and notice it's on Perspective. We need to click on Parallel Projection. And it changes the view slightly in our sketching area. Next, I'm on to 3D. We need to show our default tray by going to Window, Default Tray, and Show. Now, my default tray is over here on the right. Yours might already be showing. If that's the case, then you are already set. If your default tray is not showing, we need to go up to Window, Default Tray, and you will show it. Once your default tray is out, this is the location that you'll be finding colors and getting information about the objects that you sketch, but it does take up a lot of our sketching area. So we can hide our default tray not by clicking the X, but the small thumbtack right here. If you hover over it, it says Auto Hide. If we click on that, it will reduce your default tray into the side right here, and whenever you need it, you can just hover your mouse over that section and it will pop out. If you ever need it to stay, you can click on the thumbtack again while you are choosing your colors. But for now, we're going to keep it in the hidden position. Next, we are going to go on to 3E. We want to show you a few of our toolbars that we've set up. This, we're going to review our toolbars with different views. The ISO for isometric, front, side, and top toolbars. If I open up my SketchUp just slightly more, we can see some of these. I'm going to reduce my pages a little so I have more room to see my SketchUp. Now, right now we've got our default person here, and I'm going to come up here. This is our Views toolbar. You'll see a house, which is this icon of the house is the ISO, short for isometric. And if I hover over the others, it'll show top, front, right side, back, and the left side of the house. Now it's a little difficult to see with this person, but if you notice the 3 axes here, these will change positions. If I click on my ISO view, it sort of takes a picture, or you're viewing, from the top right location of your object. If I go over to top view, it changes the top view. You'll notice this person is like a billboard. It's thin, and that's why you just see a little line for this person. If we go to the front, you'll see that I'm looking at this person from the front view. My point of perspective has changed, and it will also say front in the top left area of your workspace. If I go to the back, the person, oh, I'm sorry, that is the right side. The person has turned with me, but you'll notice it will say right up at the top right side. Now, these we use when we are taking pictures or drawings and we need to look at objects from specific points of view. When you take your screenshots, you'll be always taking your screenshot from your ISO perspective, so we can see 3 sides of our object. And at other times we might need to see the front, right side, and top view of our objects. So these are the best way to make sure you're exactly on that point of view. Next, we're going to go on to 3F. We're going to look at moving, panning, orbit, zoom, and the undo button that we use all the time. So, if you'll notice on your toolbar on the left-hand side, first thing I want you to do is actually click on the hand. If you, oh, I'm sorry, we will be starting with our moving, panning, and orbit. Oh, that's correct, the hand. So we're going to click on our hand, and a hand will come out when you move the mouse out. Now I want you to left click and hold down your mouse and move it around, and you will notice this moves from left to right, up and down, with keeping the same point of view on your object. Next, we're going to move to our orbit, which is just to the left of the hand. If we click that and come over, and I left click my mouse and orbit around, it sort of changes the perspective that we are looking at. This is a great way to look from the top, right side, or even bottom of our object to get a different perspective of what we need to see. Next, we're going to click on our zoom extents. This object actually zooms in our objects and centers them. So if I click on this, it'll zoom in all the objects I have and center them. If you want to zoom out, you can just use your scroll wheel on your mouse and scroll it in and out and change your perspective and how close you are to the object. You can also use the toolbars here. I find the scroll wheel is best. Notice if I put my mouse in the top right area and scroll in, it zooms into that area. So it will zoom in and out according to where your mouse is. Now, if you've done that a few times and you've lost the object that you had on your screen, that's how we go back to our Zoom Extents object. We click on that and it will recenter all the objects that we have. One nice thing, or I should say, that we use quite often is if we go up to our selection toolbar, which is the black arrow, and we click on our person, let's try deleting him. I'm going to zoom out just a little so we get a better perspective, and I'm going to delete him by going to my keyboards and pressing my delete button. It will remove the person. You can most often do that when you are working with your objects, but let's say we did that by accident. What we use all the time in here is our undo button up at the top toolbar. The backwards arrow is undo, so if I wanted to save that person, I can click on the undo button and they will come back. The undo button will also undo many of your last actions, so that's a good way to allow you to try new tools. Don't be afraid of trying something. If it doesn't work, you can always undo it and retry again. And finally, for 3G, how to save and exit our software. Now, if you need to save this object, you'll notice in the top left corner it is untitled. We always want to save everything we do, so we're going to go to File, Save As, and that allows me to title it. You'll notice that it defaults into my saving location, and I'm going to title this as my sample. And always put your Tech Lab number after your title. Therefore, it's much easier to recognize it is actually yours. And then I'm going to click Save. You'll notice the title is up at the top now, top left, so we know that it's titled. Now, before I exit, when we start new activities, we don't want to create them in this same file. So, if you have to create a new object, we always start with a fresh template. To do that, we go up to File, New, to create a totally new object. Notice it's changed my perspective to giving me the opening page of this template, and it is now untitled, so I would need to rename it by going up to File, Save As, and I would rename it again. Now, this might be sample number 2, and then my Tech Lab number. Save. Notice the title is up at the top, so I am resaved. Now, if we do anything in this object, and I move these people, let's move, we can grab that and use our Move tool to move him around. Let's say we need to resave. I'm going to go up to File, Save As is for when you are titling something, and Save is when you are just resaving an object that you have made edits to. Now we are ready to exit. Please do not use the exit or red X in the top right corner. That will close and you might lose any objects you haven't saved yet. If you go up to File and Exit, it will always ask you if you have not saved something to save it before exiting. So make sure you exit in that manner. And that concludes our setup for our SketchUp. Remember, you can rewind this at any time to rewatch it, or refer to our directions on our setup page if you have to get your toolbars back at any time. Good luck.